listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Mutual Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Radio Network, and across Europe on Radio X. My email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our radio website, www.xzoneradio.com. By the way, for all the listeners around the world, we have made Season 1, that's the year 2015, Season 1 of the X-Zone TV show available to one and all with our compliments at www.xzonetv.com. My guest this hour, X-Zone Nation, is Maggie Florio. And Maggie is the director of the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group. She's been the director since October 2013, and she's been a member of the group since 2003. Now, Rhode Island, beautiful place. It's known for so many things, but how haunted, Maggie, is Rhode Island?
For such a small place, it is very haunted. Rhode Island was settled by Roger Williams in the 1600s.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first white settler, but of course we had indigenous tribes here, and it's extremely haunted.
What was it that prompted you to become a paranormal investigator, Maggie?
Well, I had always had an interest in the paranormal since I was a child. And I grew up in a house that had activity. I was also a big fan of a certain TV show that was a soap opera that had characters like witches and werewolves and vampires. Can you guess what the name of the show was?
No, I can't. Tell me.
It's Dark Shadows. I was a big fan of the show Dark Shadows back in the day, and also I happened to have certain abilities. So those three things really nurtured my interest in what back then was called the supernatural. It wasn't the paranormal. It was either supernatural or the occult. But, growing up, I experienced all kinds of different activities and all different apparitions and stuff. And I kind of, was also interested in music. And I understand you're a musician as well.
Yes, I am, yeah.
And so I also had an interest in music. And my interest in music came to the forefront. So the interest in the paranormal and stuff was always there, but it was kind of put on the back burner. And then going through life, going to college and playing in bands, and I was just very busy between rehearsals and performances and everything. It kind of got put on the back burner. And in December of 2002, my husband and I, of course, you get married and have children and, life goes on. Well, in 2002, December, my husband and I went to a Christmas party at one of the mansions here in Rhode Island. And I experienced, some very startling activity. And so when we got home from the party, and so did my husband, along with me, he also, saw stuff that, that was going on there. And when we got home, I went on the computer, and I was very curious to see if this place had a reputation. So I Googled Paranormal Groups Rhode Island, and it brought up the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group website.
Maggie, you and I have to take a break. Please stand by. Exonation. Maggie Florio is our guest this hour. She is the director of the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group, and their website is www.triprg.com, and their Facebook is /TRIPRG. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold. You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Wilda Wiecka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we will weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Wilda Wiecka, and the Science of Magic right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Linnea Starr began to demonstrate a metaphysical connection to the spirit world as a little girl. Her family noticed the connection, but it was a great-grandmother who told the family that Linnea was indeed gifted. The great-grandmother, who was also gifted, felt that Linnea had indeed inherited these attributes. It has been noticed that oftentimes such things are passed down through the generations. Linnea was also born with a caul, a thin white membrane across a newborn's face. Legend has it that if the baby is born with this caul, the child will have second sight, or what we call psychic abilities. Linnea Starr does past, present, and future, and has the gift of prophecy. It is written within scriptures that if you are able to give factual information, and prophecies indeed come true, the gift indeed comes from the divine realm. Linnea Starr does large interactive groups as well as private gatherings. For more information on Linnea Starr or to contact Linnea for a one-on-one consultation, visit her website at www.linneastar.com. That's www.linneastar.com. Welcome back, everyone. Maggie Florio is our guest this hour. She's a paranormal investigator. She's also the director of the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group. And Maggie, what has been the most interesting investigation that you and the Paranormal Research Group that you're the director of have gone and done an investigation on, and what were your findings?
Well, most of the investigations we do are in private homes and businesses. However, we have investigated several historical properties that are open to the public. And the one that I think was the most interesting was the investigation of the Charles W. Morgan, which is the oldest remaining wooden whaling ship in the world, and it was docked in, and I believe it's docked. It's back in Mystic, Connecticut, at the Mystic Seaport. From the very first visit, we experienced, apparitions. And we got EVP, and it was just a very active place. We found that there were residual spirits there,
Mm-hmm.
Which is just like a video playing over and over, just kind of imprinted in the wood of the ship. And we also had some intelligent spirits there that, would respond to us, and we, caught some EVP of them responding to us. But the claims were that, it's open to the public, tours, and we had a couple people write to us, send emails to us saying that they had seen a man smoking a pipe in the blubber room, which was like, the second level, below the main deck. And he was like, sitting on a barrel, working on a length of rope or net or something. And these were two separate people from two different days, totally unrelated to one another. And at first they thought it was like a docent, someone who volunteered there, but they didn't have anyone like that at the seaport on board the ship. And second of all, they don't allow smoking on the ship. I mean, it's a wooden ship. So we were called in to investigate by the person that does like the publicity for the seaport. And from the very first day that I went with the then director and founder of our group, Andy Laird, he was talking to the publicity person, and I went all the way below deck to see where we could set up cameras, and I turned towards the bow of the ship, and I saw a man there, and he was telling other men where to put these barrels, stowing them in the ship, and the name McKenna just like popped into my head, and then the whole vision was gone. So, and I went upstairs, and Andy was still talking to the publicity guy, and in the forecastle, I saw a man standing in the doorway, and he was motioning me to come inside the forecastle, and I'm like, well, what the heck, okay. So I went in there, and I asked him, what is your name? And he was dressed in like, in like a seaman's garb, he had on work pants and a work shirt, and he was kind of unkempt looking, and he said John Adams, and I just kind of laughed. I'm like, ha, like the president, very funny. And he kind of, got a little angry at me and just kind of disappeared. So I reported these sightings to Andy, and he had one of the researchers look it up, and they were, both of the people were verified. They were, they had records of all the people that were on the ship. They had all the ship records and everything, and they were able to verify that this man, McKenna, was indeed a supervisor of sorts. And then the other man, too, they were able to verify that he had been on board on a couple of the voyages. So it was very interesting from the outset that we had these spirits interacting with us. And it was, probably the most publicized of the cases that we ever worked on.
Isn't it rather strange that spirits, actually interact with investigators to the extent that these spirits interacted with you?
I think because I'm sensitive to spirits, that I have discernment of spirits, that, I am able to interact, whereas not every, I'm not saying I'm special or anything, but, I can pick up on them. But I think that, they had a message. I think they wanted us to know that they were there. They had appeared to tourists. There were tourists that were seeing them. One of the people that worked as a tour guide on the ship had a door slam on her. She had a tour group in one of the rooms, and the door slammed shut while they were in the room, and there was nobody else on board at the time. So it wasn't just the investigators that they were interacting with the tourists and the tour guides and the people in the seaport, so it wasn't just us. There's usually a reason why we're called in, and it's because the spirits are interacting with people. you know.
So would you say that you're also a spiritual medium?
Yes, I would.
And when did you discover that you were a medium?
When I was 8, I saw my first spirit when I was 8, and I also had precognitive dreams, stuff like that. I mean, I didn't really know what it was called, but you know, I knew I had these abilities. Later on in life, you know, I found out what they were, but I when I was a kid, I thought it was everybody had them. I thought it was normal.
Would you say that throughout your life you have found these abilities to be an asset or at times a bit of a pain in the butt?
Yes, I would. When I'm on an investigation, they come in handy. Even in my personal life too, you know, I can pick things up that are helpful, and you know, I can, you know, ask spirits for help. But sometimes it is a pain in the butt. You know, sometimes it's, you know, you have to learn to kind of shut it off.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's hard. You know, I remember being awoken at night by someone yelling in my ear, "Hey!" Just like that. You know, and after this happened a few times, I had to say, you know, listen, I need my rest. You can't be waking me up in the middle of the night, you know, for no good reason, because I would sit up in bed and say, what? And I would think there was something happening, and it was just, there was nothing.
And, of course, the adrenaline is going at this time, and you just can't fall right back to sleep.
Exactly. So, you know, you got to set limits, and, you know, it's you got to learn to work with it. You really do.
What does your family think about the work that you do as a paranormal investigator?
Well, my sister thinks it's a bunch of hooey. Yeah, she does. She is a total skeptic. A total skeptic. Because she's never experienced anything. Which amazes me, because the house we lived in was like spook central. My father says he doesn't believe, but yet he'll turn around and tell me about experiences he's had. So, you know, take that whatever way you want. You know, my husband is wonderful. He's also a medium. He did not grow up with the ability like I did. He had open heart surgery 5 years ago.
Oh, God bless him.
And it was really rough. And I guess when they do the bypass, you're actually dead for a while. They take the heart like right out of you. And he had like a near-death experience. He had a vision and everything. And when he came back into his body, after that, he was able to, communicate with spirit. But he is more of a feeler, and I'm more of a seer. So, and he ended up joining our paranormal group, and so now he's part of the team.
You and I have to take our break with the news at the bottom of the hour, dear. Please stand by. Exonation, our guest this hour is Maggie Florio, and she's the director of the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group, and their website is www.triprg.com, and you can find them on Facebook at facebook.com/triprg. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and Maggie and I will return on the other side of this break as we continue from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Thomas Jefferson was a Burgess of 27 when he met Martha Wales Skelton, a 22-year-old widowed heiress who was fondly called Patty by her family. They were married on January the 1st, 1772, and they took up residence in a cabin on the building site on top of a Virginia mountain that Thomas had named Monticello. As Thomas and Patty slowly built their first version of the great house at Monticello, the Revolutionary War was heating up. Patty, with difficulty, bore 5 children, but only 2 girls survived. Thomas's political career developed to the point where he was often away from home, but after he authored and signed the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia, he resolved never again to leave his wife. He was elected the governor of Virginia, just as that state became the Revolution's last battleground. The Revolutionary War ended in 1781, and Thomas gladly retired altogether to my family, my farm, and my books. But Patty continued to want to bear her treasured husband a son, and late in the summer of 1782, she died of kidney failure at the age of 33, 4 months after having borne yet another girl. Thomas was so devastated by her death that he never remarried. He mourned her for the rest of his life, even as he helped to frame the peace in France and then became the first Secretary of State, the second Vice President, and the third President of the United States. This story is true. Thomas Jefferson was such an obsessive letter writer and record keeper that we know where he was and what he was doing nearly every day of his adult life. Every significant thing he says in My Thomas comes from his contemporary writings. My Thomas by Roberta Grimes is now available at Barnes & Noble, Costco, Target, Books A Million, Hudson Booksellers, Kmart, Walmart, Sam's Club, Walgreens, CVS, and online at Amazon.com. You can visit Roberta Grimes online at www.robertagrimes.com.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State-certified occupational school, training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
Unwilling to be the government's deadly assassin, gifted psychic Kahara Mitchell went AWOL and ended up buried under rubble in the wake of a great tsunami. She regained consciousness far from Earth on the medical ship of a Daguerrean intergalactic fleet. Has she been rescued or abducted by aliens? The Chalice of Carrie, Kahira O'Donnell's latest paranormal science fiction romance, is the passionate story of an Earth woman and her destined mates, twin kings from another galaxy. Kahara uses her gifts fighting alongside Lords Rom and Ra in a war that will determine the destiny of galaxies. The Chalice of Carrie by Kahira O'Donnell is now available at KahiraO'Donnell.com or at Amazon.com. You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. What Happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Annie Callahan, dedicated to negotiating a position for Earth within the Daguerreonian Coalition, had trained for 3 years to become an Earth ambassador. Yet, the very eve of her arrival at the capital ruling planet, she is claimed as destined mate to an oversized, mating-maddened vamp who swears he will never release her. Lord Aztaran, king of the Macian sector, has waited over 900 years for his destined mate. Having found her as an alpha vamp, he is unable to relinquish Annie, virtually holding her hostage until he can claim her. Yet Macians cannot survive without their mate's love. How could he strip her of her citizenship, her ambassadorship, and her freedom and expect to win her heart? With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is the latest book in this exciting series, The Daguerreonian Chronicles, guaranteed to keep readers coming back for more. With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is available on Amazon.com and KahiraO'Donnell.com. Maggie Florio is our special guest this hour. She's a paranormal investigator and a medium. She's also the director of the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group. And it's great having you with us, Maggie. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be available for us this hour. Interesting lady.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Let me ask you, are demons real, or are they a figment of our imaginations?
No, I believe they're real.
Have you ever had to deal with one?
Yes. Yes, I have. Let me think. Well, the first time I had to deal with one was we were on a case, and it was very early on in, in my career as a paranormal investigator. And I was with some other members of the group, and we were on the second floor of this place. And we had been up there for a while, and we had encountered the spirit of a little boy. And he had been, doing mischievous things like, playing with our hair and making noises and, communicating with us, using the meters and stuff, and we were getting cold spots and stuff. So, after a while, I guess he got bored with us and went away, and we decided to go downstairs where the rest of the group was. And I was the last one to go down the stairs, and as I was at the top of the stairs, the little boy came up to me, and I had a very clear vision of him. And I asked him, "What are you still doing here?" And I said, you should be going into the light and going to heaven. And he says, something like, he was poor and he was a servant and didn't deserve to go to heaven. And I said, everyone deserves to go to heaven, and especially children. Jesus loves children. Well, no sooner did I get the name of our Lord out of my mouth, when this, I don't know what it was. I guess it was a demon. It wasn't human, and it was just pure evil. And I could just feel the hate coming right off it. And as soon as this thing showed up, the spirit of the little boy took off. And I just had to get away from this thing. So I went downstairs, and I got to the bottom of the stairs, and I felt so sick. I mean, sick to my stomach, sick, like nauseous, and I mean, it was horrible. It really was horrible. And I ended up leaving the investigation and not telling anyone about it because, again, it was very early on, and I wasn't really sure about what had just happened, and I just wanted to get out of there. And I wish I had told, the director at the time, Andy, what had happened, because they the rest of the crew stayed well into the night, and they ended up having something thrown at them, and
my gosh,
Andy got hurt. Andy got hurt, not badly, but he got hurt. And when he told me what happened, I just felt so bad. And then I told him, and then I got yelled at, of course, for not saying anything. It was, it was a tough lesson to learn, but I really think that was a demon. And yeah, they are real, and I have encountered some since. I definitely believe in them.
What place does your religious beliefs play when you're doing an investigation? Let me rephrase the question. Is one's own religious beliefs important when doing a paranormal investigation?
I believe they are. I know a lot of investigators say, you should be objective and, not let your beliefs influence you. But how could you not? They're a part of you. It's what you were brought up with in many cases. It's actually my involvement in the paranormal has strengthened my religious beliefs because I believe that, I'm a Christian.
Sure.
So I believe in life after death, and I have seen evidence of it. I have, captured voices. I have captured images in my photographs. I mean, there's proof of it. So, it's actually strengthened my beliefs. And, the way I protect myself when I go to an investigation is through prayer. And I realize not everyone does. I mean, I have friends who aren't Christian, and I respect their beliefs too, and I'm sure that their beliefs also influence what they do. on an investigation. So I think it does play a big part. You can try and deny it,
Yeah.
but it's really hard to separate the two.
Have you ever encountered a non-human entity that wasn't demonic?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I have. And this was really unusual. We had gone to a place called Purgatory Chasm, which is out in Massachusetts. I think it's in Sutton, Massachusetts. Not too far from the Rhode Island state line. And what it is it's this big split in the earth where, the glacial ice had come down and just, made this big chasm, and there's all kinds of rock formations and stuff. It's a park. People go there. They have picnic areas and stuff, and they go climbing around in the split, and there's caves and stuff, and it's really cool. But I had heard that there was, paranormal activity there. And so myself and my husband and another husband and wife team from the group, Don and Missy Paulin, we met up there. And, we were walking around with our meters and stuff, and we also have some dowsing rods that we use. And the way we use the dowsing rods is, we just walk around with them, and, they pointed straight out, and then, if there's energy, they'll cross. And sometimes we'll ask yes or no questions, and, we tell the spirits if the answer is yes, cross the rods. If it's no, just leave them. And we had encountered this spirit, so, the rods had crossed, and so, I stopped and started asking questions, and there had been some suicides there. There had been some accidental deaths. So I'm asking questions, did you commit suicide? Did you fall? And all the answers were no. And then, I was racking my brain trying to think, what could this spirit be? And finally I said, are you from the earth? And the response was yes. And I said, oh, so you're a spirit of nature. So, and again, the rods crossed in the affirmative. And so it was what they call an elemental spirit, a nature spirit, if you will. And that was, from the earth, from the rocks. And it was pretty weird, that this spirit was able to communicate with me.
Well, when you say when you say from the rocks, do you mean to say that rocks have spirits?
Well, the earth, the elements. They're the foundation of life. So why shouldn't they have life? They provide nourishment, and they provide life for insects and all kinds of living plants and all kinds of living things. So yeah, why shouldn't they have like an energy to them that's intelligent and can communicate? Yeah, I know it sounds really far out, but
well, yeah, because I've never heard of rocks having spirits before.
Well, I don't know if it was like from the rock, but it was from the earth, and they were
I get it. Okay, right.
Rocks around. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Now I do. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. It was what most people would call an elemental.
How about other types of life forces that inhabit the earth? Like we've heard about fairies, we've heard about elves, we've heard about leprechauns, we've heard about the wee people. Do you ever have you ever seen or have you ever heard of anyone having a sighting of a spirit of those type of entities?
A spirit of that type of entity?
Yes.
No, I haven't. But I'm sure it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've heard of people that have seen like fairies and those kind of spirits. They call them divas, but it's spelled D-E-V-A, not D-I-V-A, not like, not like an operatic diva, but a nature spirit. Nature spirits are often called, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it, might be Deva, but it's D-E-V-A, and they're natural spirits like the Green Man and, fairies and brownies and puckwudgies
right.
and stuff like that. I know people have seen them, but I don't know if they've seen the spirits of those things.
Do you think that the life force of a spirit only lasts a certain amount of time, or are the spirits here forever?
Well, I believe, again, it goes back to my religious
mm-hmm.
beliefs that life is eternal. And also, in science, they say matter cannot be destroyed. It just changes. So, I don't know if they stay here. I think, spirit can go wherever. Or, I know there's earthbound spirits that, cannot move on.
Sure.
That need help, and that's what a lot of paranormal investigators do,
mm-hmm.
is to help move these spirits on and to help resolve things that keep them here. But no, I don't think spirit ever dies. I really don't.
The reason I'm asking you this question is because nobody has ever talked about seeing the ghost of a Neanderthal or a caveman or anything pre a certain time in our history. And if spirits never die, if the energy doesn't mm-hmm. dissipate, how come the sightings of spirits are only going back 100, 200 years, 300 years, and not longer than that?
That's a good question. Maybe we're just not looking in the right places.
Where would you have to look?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We've certainly seen evidence of them in cave paintings mm-hmm. and, found their tools and
exactly.
Their bones
mm-hmm.
and their remains and stuff.
So we know they were real.
So maybe their spirits have just moved elsewhere, like where we can't see them. Maybe they've moved to a different dimension.
But that doesn't make sense.
They're not.
That doesn't
what do you mean?
Well, because what we're doing is we're looking for an excuse why a certain part of history isn't following the same rules of physics that we apply to the current, let's say, 300-year ghosts that people keep on seeing and talking about.
Right.
That's why it doesn't make sense. Like, I've had people on the show who've said they've seen ghosts of horses, dogs,
yes.
cats.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But I've never had anybody come on the show and tell me that they've seen a ghost of a dinosaur or of a chimpanzee, or there doesn't seem to be any consistency in the sightings. I just find that rather strange.
True.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't they?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't they? Maybe they just go someplace else. I don't know.
But you see, if they went somewhere else, so would these ghosts. They wouldn't need to be aimed towards the light or be told it's all right to proceed. You don't have to stay around here anymore. It would be innate in each and every one of us that this is what we do when we leave this existence that we call life, enter the cocoon, which I call death, and emerge on the other side as a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
This is my biggest conundrum when it comes to the paranormal. There is no consistency.
That's true.
The laws of physics, the laws of nature, the laws of the universe do not apply equally to one and all.
So that's because it's outside the normal.
Oh,
normal
no. That's
normal rules don't apply.
Nice try, but I'm not going to let you off the hook that easily. But I do have to take my final break here. Please stand by, Maggie. Exonation Maggie Florio is our guest. And Maggie and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue chatting and wrapping up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. By the way, X Zone Nation, Maggie Florio is the director of the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group, and their website is www.triprg.com, and they can be found on Facebook at facebook.com/triprg. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. Don't go away.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. If you enjoy reading a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love From Out of the Woodwork by William S. Peckham. Sean Kennedy, a Toronto contractor, buys derelict houses, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, a century house in ruins, and starts the renovation, the house fights back. He is visited by ghosts of owners past. His visions are triggered by touching an oak mantle, reading a faded letter, opening an old locket, or opening a brand new casket in the basement. These visions will take you on a trip across southern Ontario from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Kingston. From Out of the Woodwork is now available in paperback and on your favorite electronic reader. To order your copy of From Out of the Woodwork, go to www.williamspeckham.com. That's www.williamspeckham.com. Maggie Florio is our guest. And Maggie, what is a spirit rescue and how is it used during a paranormal investigation?
Spirit rescue is a process by which a spirit is moved into the light or to the other side, or however you want to say it. They're moved on. And, you know, this is done many ways. Some people do it through prayer. Mm-hmm. Some people do it through, like, visualization, intent, faith, using love. You know, some people use candles when they do it, crystals. Some people burn incense. But it's just a process of, you know, moving a spirit into the light so they can go where they need to go, so that they're no longer stuck in a place or earthbound, as we say. And a lot of paranormal groups will bring in a medium to do this, or someone that does what they call cleansing, you know, cleansing a house or clearing energy. It's just moving the spirits on. And I believe that, you know, if there is a spirit that is troublesome and,
mm-hmm.
you know, the homeowner or the property owner wants that spirit moved on, you know, they can't seem to live in harmony, or if the spirit itself indicates that it wants to move on, then a spirit rescue should be done.
Interesting.
So.
Yeah, and how does your group differ from other paranormal groups?
Well, a lot of paranormal groups rely, you know, strictly on the instrumentation, you know, the different equipment that they use to do an investigation. And they often will bring in, you know, like I mentioned, a medium or a psychic or something, if they need to gather additional information that is, you know,
mm-hmm.
Only attainable, you know, using those kind of abilities. Whereas our group, we actually have several mediums. And ever since I've been a member of this group, we've always had people that had abilities to communicate with the other side. So we include them in our group. They're actual members. They're trained as investigators. You know, they're trained on all the equipment and everything. They're trained to do research, but they also are encouraged to use whatever abilities they have to gather information. So that in that way we differ from other groups.
Maggie, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you and the other members of the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group. Keep the great work up, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Thank you.
Good night now, Maggie.
Good night.
Exonation, my guest this hour has been Maggie Florio. The group is the Rhode Island Paranormal Research Group. Their website is triprg.com, and on Facebook, facebook.com/triprg. I'll be back on the other side of this news break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. X Zone Nation, I love getting your emails, but I must say there are a few of you who I think you have your tin foil tighted a little bit too tight on your head. But keep sending the emails. They give me a chuckle. I'll be back on the other side of this news break. Don't go away.